2, 1. Okay, let's get started. August 17th zoning hearing board meeting. Thank you very much for showing up. We appreciate it. Turn all phones down to silent if you can, even on the board. Okay, we've got a little bit of change in order. We're going to do this one. That one? First of all, we have a continuance for appeal number 21-1914, Joseph Jennings. That has requested a continuance. And when do we have time to put that continued to?
They asked, we can put that in the September, I think it's 21st,
9/20, is that good for
9/21.
9/21?
Yes, please.
Okay, somebody give you a motion? Right, second.
Second.
Although, any discussion?
Can I just ask how many times that's been continued?
I have no idea.
Does our solicitor?
Well, that was, we had a hearing on it
Mhm.
and then they, I guess, had to go back to the drawing board and their engineer wanted, I think, a little bit more time to work on some of those issues that were brought up.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Let's have a vote. All those in favor of the continuance to the 21st, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? No one's opposed. Motion carries. Continue to the 21st of September. Okay, that one's out. And this one's.
Here. Yeah.
Okay. All right, next one's going to be appeal number 21-1926, Jennifer Schlederman and Brian Pepe. I hope I'm saying that right. Are they here? Oh, it's nice. The neighbor showed up. Yeah. Are they supposed to be?
Yeah, I don't know if they're virtually.
Are they in virtual?
We have somebody on.
That must be the Pepes. There it is. It's in 26. They're not here? Oh, boy.
Get that one.
We did skip over. We were trying to get that one done. There's a mic. So they're not here. All right, we're going to move on then to going to go to the camp one then again. No. The last one. We're going to go to appeal number 21-1927, James Mook. Is that right? Step right up. Okay, do you want to bring them in? They're coming in. This is the one you were with, right?
No, camp was.
Yeah, okay. As soon as we get the other people in, we'll have you sworn in. Guess we could swear him in now. Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, you solemnly swear testimony I'm about to give will be the truth, so help you God.
Oh, yes. Okay,
Last 2 pages only say.
Oh. don't have it.
Well, you can share mine.
Oh, I remember seeing it. Yeah, I'm gonna share hers.
Oh, okay.
I had it this today. I didn't get my stuff. They're ready? Bring them in. Oh, they're not here? These are your contract. You want to give them a quick call? I do not mind. It'll speed things up.
Do we have?
Can't get a hold?
Oh, meaning it's back, it's backwards. Yeah.
All right, so you can't get hold of me, bailed out on you.
So he's looking to
Hate
encroach
that.
on this, encroach both of them, actually.
Go and then I.
Yeah, we can. Give that. Okay. All right. That's okay. All right, we're gonna go to appeal number 21-1925, Derek Camp. Here he is. Got somebody. We got a live one. All right, I gotta find your thing first. I hope so. Oh, this is the pool. Right. I didn't get to buy it. This is the revised drawing? Doesn't look any different than the other drawing. All right, you sworn in?
Yeah, he's still.
That's right, you're still sworn in. Booth will make over to you. All right, everybody else pull their mics closer because they'll get mad at us.
It's supposed to be called in. David Lasanti, his name is.
David is in the room.
Is he here? Is that him?
I am here. Can you guys hear me?
Are you going to testify? You got to be sworn in.
I will be.
Were you here last time?
testifying, yeah.
You guys remember all that?
You guys solemnly swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, so help you God.
Yes. Yes.
Thanks. All right, I'm looking at the plan. It doesn't look too much different than the last one, but go ahead and tell us what you did.
It was my understanding that the board had requested a couple of changes to the plan. So we had reduced the impervious or the hardscape area around the pool, mostly by reducing the width on three sides to 3 feet. And in addition to that, we also removed a portion of the patio from the lower area the lower area of the plan. where we have the secondary patio area. We also removed it was kind of like a wing off of it, a rectangular section. We removed that as well. So the big difference is that we're reducing the impervious by about 300 square feet. And that's really it.
So what did we do? Did we reduce the impervious surface because of that? Somewhat? What were we before?
Yes. We were proposing 1,420 square feet of net impervious, and now we're proposing 1,125 square feet of net impervious.
What was the percentage before?
The previous percentage was it was 0.335 or 33%.
On your last plan?
And then in the previous plan that you guys saw 2 weeks ago, it was at 33.5%. Now it's at 31.8%.
And we did have a seepage bed. Yes, I do remember that.
Correct.
So what you did was you compressed the sidewalk area around the pool, or the paved area around the pool. Is that what you did? And reduced the remote patio a little bit. Am I correct to say that?
Yes, both of those statements are correct.
Anybody got any questions?
Yeah, it does look like you responded to our comments that we provided on that. I do have one question that comes to mind looking at this time. How is the seepage bed collecting water? It doesn't look like the drainage is exactly being directed to it or to the one
Yeah.
drain, which is in a planter.
Yes, so it was my personal choice to remove the grading from the plan, just because it's a zoning hearing board meeting, and generally that, it kind of becomes a little bit unclear. So I just wanted to try to make it as clear as possible. So I removed the grading from it, but I have done it already so that this, the inlet, that circular structure that you see closest to the pool, that will be graded into like a sumped area. And that will capture all of the runoff from the pool area. And then it will direct it to the seepage bed, which will be at the lower end of the property. And there will also be a second inlet on top of that seepage bed. And that will actually be drained. That will actually be graded in a sumped condition as well. So both of these areas being sumped will collect all the water from the upper area and the lower area and direct it to the seepage bed.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah, I would, the answer makes sense. It would have been nice to see the grading on here, but we can
You were
certainly make
concerned
sure.
that it was going down to the wrong grade area?
It's going, yes, yeah.
It'd be that. Mhm.
Just a point of housekeeping, we're going to mark the revised plans as A4.
Yeah, there's.
They were updated.
So we'll do that as A5 for the revised impervious and stormwater calculations.
Anything else? Anybody got anything? Yes, Barb.
I just want to clarify, Mr. Schwartz, you said you reduced the size of the pool coping along 3 sides to 3 feet. Isn't that correct?
That is correct, but I'm David Lasanti. I believe Mr. Schwartz is not able to make it tonight. Yes, that was correct.
But if I look at the plans, actually the side of the pool closest toward the seepage bed, only half of it is 3 feet wide. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
So you still kept the extension of that piece out for, that goes into the fourth side for pool chairs and things of that nature, right?
That's correct, only because it was my understanding that that was okay to leave.
Right, and the area between the pool coping and the property line closest to the adjacent property labeled Tafari, is that going to remain strictly landscaped with plantings and mulch?
I believe that should be a question for the homeowner.
Okay, if I may, Mr. Camp, if you recall at the last hearing,
Yes.
there was an agreement that that area between that reverse side of the pool coping towards the adjacent neighbor would remain landscaped and mulched with no stone.
Yes, that's correct.
Just want to verify. Thank you.
Guys, anything else? Okay. Too bad. I'm sorry. I guess if that's it, any public comment? Any virtual public comment?
No public comment on the line.
No. All right. What do you think? That enough?
I was hoping for 30%.
I was hoping for a little bit more too, myself. What would we have to do that? Cut that patio area down a little bit? Right, there the barber's talking about.
That's the side that goes right into the house.
We can't cut that down to make it 30%. I mean, how many feet do you have there now in the plant?
I would just guess, and I'm not the right
Yes.
person to ask that. We'll see, that goes right into there, so it's probably gonna be, I don't know. From where the pool to that, it's probably 10 feet, maybe?
10 feet?
Yeah, it's probably about 10 feet. Yeah.
What we need to slice it down to 30%. Anybody figure that out?
I could do a quick calculation.
Thank you. I could do that.
We could make a motion.
Let's make the motion to have them do that. We can do that.
To approve it if it's.
Excuse me?
I'm not,
All
No,
right,
the-
300
The
square?
the comment was not the effective. I think the comment was the overall should be taken down to 30.
correct.
And then medium. I didn't know if you were saying something else.
No, instead of trying to figure out what
Okay.
sketching in,
Right.
make that part of the.
Of the motion. So we made the motion, the maximum you can have is 30%. Would you, and we were willing to grant that. Would you be okay with that?
We have to come back and do an, or can
No.
I start?
Now, if we get, if you didn't want that, you'd have to, we can,
I mean, what you guys say kind of goes, right? I really don't. So the way, I mean, we did what you asked us to do.
we're asking you to go to 30%. You already have a lot.
Yep.
You have quite a bit. If you can, if we make a motion that you would reduce it down to 30%, and chances are it would probably get through. Would you be okay with that? Then you would have to resubmit the plans to the permit office.
Yeah, so we wouldn't
Hearings office.
drop the
Yeah.
plans off and then we.
Yeah, that's correct.
Then yes.
Okay. Good idea, Mike. That being said,
I'll make the motion.
all right,
So on appeal number 21-1925 is approved, subject to the resubmission of a plan showing the impervious coverage ratio at 30%, mitigated down to the current existing level, and with the revised grading plan so that everything grades down to the inlets that your contractor referenced.
Resubmitted to the town,
To
for the
Jim.
township for final.
Yeah, for the,
approval.
exactly right.
Yeah, subject to township. final.
Subject to township final approval.
okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? There being no discussion, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Nobody's being opposed, the motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It was 25, right? 1925. All right, now where are we?
That was this one.
No.
That's not track.
Okay, what are we doing next since we're all out of order here? Did he come back? Who is this? 727?
Mook.
Mook?
Yeah.
Tell him another $5,000 off. All right, then. Go to 26, is 26, or we have an issue with that one too? They weren't here. Oh. Did we get a virtual on 1926 yet?
Pepe?
Pepe, LePew?
Jennifer Schneridman?
Schneiderman. You have no one. Yeah, let's continue that one. That was 26, right? All right, we're gonna have to continue that one based
Does it
on,
have to be continued 2 weeks or 4 weeks based on notice?
I don't know.
We can do.
Well, actually, it'd be 3 weeks automatically because,
The 20,
yeah.
yeah, we'd put it for the 21st.
21st?
I make a motion to continue appeal 21-1926 to September 21st.
We have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Being no discussion, all those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? No opposed? Motion carries. All right, that's continued. Yeah. Anything you want.
It's either wait or go.
Yeah. This is for 27 you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Do you need the expert? Oh. This who's James Mook? Do we need the? Oh, you're here. You're the experts. Oh. Okay. All right. This is 27.
You can come up to the table.
That's his.
All right. Let's get some copies of that, 'cause I don't have it. You guys come on up. All right.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, you hold on to that.
No. I have it. I have it.
All right, we're at the 21-1927, James Mook. And I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that.
We swear the testimony we're about to give will be the truth, so help me God.
I do.
Jared Giles, Precise Home Renovations.
All right. Tell us what you like to do.
Exhibits?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Bart.
Sweet on.
Give us 1 second.
After 13 years.
Doing all these continued hearings, we didn't even need to. All right. Applications A1, site plan is A2, proof of publication B1, proof of posting B2, B3, notice to the neighbors.
All right, let me see this. Okay, this is your plan, right? And you have that corner lot, looks like, correct? Now, I did see something on that, what did you show me, Pete? You had on the, that right here. This looks like a mistake here on here. Did you read that? It should be decreased. Yeah, I think that's what it is, backwards. On your description for the public notice we have, is that an issue with us for the public notice?
Yeah, we're all for it.
You know what I'm saying? What did it say on the public notice? Give us 1 second. It's going from 11 foot 0 to 19, but it's just the opposite.
The public comment says that you're increasing the rear yard setback on a non-conforming lot from 11 feet 10 inches to 19 feet 7 inches, where 45 feet is otherwise required, but it should be decreasing. I mean, the code section is quoted properly, meaning that the reference to the code is proper. You know, I think it's an apparent typo.
Okay.
I don't know that it,
As long as we're clear with it, and you're clear, that's wrong, you got it backwards. All right,
it's still letting someone know that they're,
Yes.
that it's a setback issue and that it's changing.
just wanted to make sure the technical part wasn't, kind of going to mess somebody up in the end. All right, now that we have that almost cleared up, I see you're putting on a huge addition onto the back, correct?
Correct.
All right. But it is awful big. Go ahead and tell us what you're trying to do before we get into the questions.
Just trying to create a livable space for Jimmy's mom.
And the space he has right now is not livable.
Absolutely not. And she needs to be a one level senior. And the architect, I believe, has drawn up a plan that works very well for her and allows her access with the family through the living room.
Right.
And, you know, as she gets older, they can have dinner with her and, you know, not have to pass through doors or anything like that. It's, it looks pretty nice to me.
Where it says 45 feet rear yard, where you have the plan, there's the plan up there. I guess you have one there. How, you don't have an actual dimension to the edge of the structure. Am I correct there? Yeah, I know, but I don't see a dimension to the edge of the new structure, at least on this permit. Anybody see it and I don't see it? Yeah, but it's not, I'm saying this dimension.
All the dimensions are pulled perpendicular to the
45
house, not
was
to the
to
property line.
here,
It just,
and
it
it's-
is, the
and then-
addition's to
and-
here. though.
Right,
But the rear, it's also the back here.
and it's also on the other side too. So it goes
In the
goes
front
into
yard.
this
The architect.
setback
In the
too.
front yard.
It's a setback on all three sides is what they're looking
So is this
for. relief.
correct?
The building envelope is this. I don't know why.
Right, that's exactly right.
Wait, this is the building envelope now?
No,
This
the
is the
building.
proposed.
No, it's proposed. We're
Right.
saying that's their setback line.
Right,
Yeah, but they're
Yes,
showing
right.
the building here.
Right,
Yeah, they're showing
yes.
the building.
So what's
Yeah,
that dimension from here to here?
They don't show it.
They don't show it.
They have quite a bit of side yard. Almost their side yard is their backyard.
Yeah, corner lots, we understand.
Yeah.
I still don't see that dimension from the bottom of that yellow.
It's not. There's one pulled to the back perpendicular to the house. Jim, can you zoom this up?
No.
I can't see.
The other way, going south.
Yes. And we see it's
A little more,
not
Jim.
even the whole way through because the,
There you go. Thanks, Jim.
You see a dimension there?
I don't, but it is quite a distance.
Yeah, but it's no dimension there.
It's pretty darn far and there's a lot
Yeah.
of forestry, but I don't.
Kind of need numbers.
If I may interrupt,
no.
there's a line that goes from the purple section up to the yellow area. And right next to the green box that says proposed trench, there's a measurement that says 45 feet R.Y for rear yard.
Yeah, it's a setback, right?
Mhm.
Proposed right
Are you-
Oh, here it
36
is.
37 feet,
Yeah,
2 inches.
that's not it either, Barb. It's over here.
Okay.
37 feet. It's on the far left.
Yeah, but that's also the furthest corner. It's not the nearest corner.
Yeah,
True.
that's true. Yeah.
No, it's the nearest.
Well, it's the nearest corner to that,
It's the
that,
nearest corner to that.
to the south end of the lot.
For that side.
So basically, you're going into your rear yard, your side yard, and your front yard.
Yes.
With this addition, which is almost the same size as the house, the
Your
existing house's
45
footprint,
foot measurement is going into your envelope.
correct?
That's all you're showing there.
So your new building footprint, the yellow area that you're talking about, you're going into your rear yard setback, your side yard setback, and your front yard setback on a footprint that's about the same size as the existing dwelling's footprint.
And it does show, Matt, 37 foot 2 inch, 37 foot 2 inch to the corner.
There you go, 37 too. So let's extrapolate that. I mean, just visually, we can see that it's probably pushing 100 feet.
No.
No.
You
No.
push,
You're in the-
in new building.
Yeah, Jim, he's in the other room. He can hear us. Scroll that up, Jim.
Pardon me?
Roll more.
What do you need, Tony?
Can you bring
Scroll,
that,
scroll.
scroll that,
So we can see-
picture up so we can see the bottom edge of the screen? Yes, down there at the bottom. Not where your fingers are. Go to where your thumb is. From where your thumb is, down to the bottom. From your thumb down to the bottom is 37 feet 2 inches. Right? You see there's a little mark there? Yeah, you're right. Well, that's what we're supposed to have.
Yeah.
What do we need for the variance? I mean,
Well, whatever you're trying to ask for, and that's where when we come up with our questions is, why do you need that? But if we don't know the dimensions, it's hard for us to come up with questions. Now, the far corner where it's going uphill, from that corner down to the south part, I don't know what that dimension is. Obviously, it's a little further. Do we have that on there?
Your side, all three setbacks are south.
Yeah.
But they're encroaching in all.
11.
three.
Yeah, I know they are through, but what do we got from here?
It says 11.
11,
15,
10.
That's over here, right?
They put
That's
a rear.
the furthest point right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah,
It's
that's
the
the closest.
furthest.
Is that enough? This
And-
would be 15, right?
Well, he is
Yes.
showing 15.
Right.
I'm assuming this is the existing
Yeah.
envelope,
Yes.
Right.
permitted envelope.
Right, because he's on the angle here, this house.
I don't have this.
So, but he's over here, he's
Mhm.
over here, he's over here.
Right. So
But
it's,
he's-
it's looking like he's asking for variance on all three sides, that that he's going to
Yes.
be encroaching the setback on all three sides. I think, just to reiterate Matt's concern, I think what we're having a problem here with is that you're basically doubling the footprint of the dwelling on this property, and that's what we have a problem with.
Mr. Zamparelli, if I may add one thing, the front yard setback is already an existing nonconformity, and they are just extending that nonconformity. Therefore, there's no front yard relief necessary.
On the front yard. Okay,
Thank you, Jim.
that's on this
I was
side.
just speaking.
Jim.
That's Jim. He's in another room doing virtual. Yeah.
I didn't see anybody's mouth moving and, okay.
So Jim, they're only asking for a variance on what? On the two sides, not on the third?
Just a rear yard setback and then impervious. The rear yard is the 45 foot.
But they need a setback.
Now, there's another one.
They need to, yeah, the other one too.
I'm just saying that's the only that have been applied for.
Oh,
Could be the front, I believe it's going to be the front yard also.
You have two front yards, but your front yard along Lake Shore
Shore is
is already
acceptable.
encroaching, so that you don't need a variance for that, but you do need a variance for your rear yard.
Both directions.
You have basically both directions.
From here
Yeah,
as you're going.
Okay, so
into that.
even if he's doubling his
doesn't need this because he's not.
his dwelling, I don't think it is either, but regardless, what does that have to do with anything? If he's doubling it or tripling it, as long as we can,
He's asking for a variance.
I understand that, but
What's
it's
your
not like
hardship?
we're building a Yardley Hunt home on this little lot. So it's not like we're building a mansion when there's houses equally as big as Jimmy's thinking of, right on the same line.
We're only concerned about
I
your
don't,
house.
I don't see them in here for a variance. I see you guys in here for a variance.
It does look like you're doubling the house. And we do have to look at some kind of hardship. I know what you said, and I understand that.
Can you tell us what's being proposed there? I mean, we see the footprint and we see, you know, the square footage that you're adding. What is it that you're asking for? I mean, what are you proposing? Is it a bedroom plus a living room plus a bathroom? Is it, what is it?
You need a microphone.
Oh, you need a microphone.
Didn't hear any of that.
So with the Zoom, we need. you
Sure,
need to-
all good.
People can't hear you, right?
Understood. Thank you. So my mother is going to be moving in, and I would like to give her all of her living needs, bedroom, bathroom, kitchenette, great room, and a mudroom, all on one floor level. She's a 40-year resident living in Yardley Hunt. She can't deal with steps anymore. Selling the Yardley Hunt home and then simultaneously building this so that she will be able to properly downsize.
Don't you already have a kitchen in this house?
I do, but I'm also a single man and I would like to maybe date in the future. So I'd like to have
Overrated.
my own living quarters and her to have her own living quarters.
Yeah, but I think there's might be another problem with having a second kitchen in the house. Not here, but it sounds like to me you want to put an in-law suite on.
I wouldn't call it an in-law suite. She's my mother, but
A mother suite. Yes, but you know what I'm saying. We don't want to get into semantics here, but that's what you're trying to do. You're adding a whole extra house. So I got what you're saying. I do, but generally on these in-law suites, because that's what they're called, you can't have a kitchen in there. So if you got rid of that, it may reduce the size of that footprint because of that.
she's not allowed to have a refrigerator or a microwave.
It's not allowed to have a kitchen, stove.
Is it a kitchen or a kitchenette?
Yeah, what is it?
A kitchenette. It's literally a living room with a sink,
And a stove? A counter?
a countertop, sure.
There's a stove in there, right? I mean.
We don't know yet.
We're not getting accurate information here.
Actually, I have one.
One at a time, one at a time. 24-inch.
Stove instead of a 30-inch.
No kitchen.
Then they won't have, then they will take that away.
You need a microphone.
You got to have a microphone. Thank
We
you.
need more than one microphone. Well, we do have a next.
Okay,
Another
I
microphone
would say
today
that's a
if they can
separate,
use.
that's a separate issue.
It is a
here.
separate issue, but it's,
That's not under our purview here, but I do have a solution here that would get rid of most of your variance requests, if not all of them. That is, rather than putting this building on Plan South, you put the extension on the south side, you put it on the north side. I know you have a garage there, but if you put that extension there, you could put it entirely inside the approved building envelope that you have right now for your setbacks, and you probably would not be increasing your impervious area above the limit.
good idea.
And then you would not need to file a variance with us. You'd just be applying for building permits with the township.
Good idea.
We need to run that by the architect.
And you need to ask for a continuance.
Great.
Excuse me, got to be in the microphone. I can't hear. I'm sorry. I'm aggravating you.
I'd like to request a continuance.
Okay. I'd like to request a continuance. When's our next possible continuance date?
Do the 21st again.
21st again.
Well, I just want to make sure that the board's aware that I'm here on behalf of the township to participate.
In this one?
Yes.
Okay, you want to,
No, I have no questions
Okay.
at this point.
you will be back from vacation by then, right? While we have you here, if there's any public comment in the audience or any virtual public comment on this? Might as well check if they're here. You have a comment?
I'm the mother.
Oh,
I have severe.
you can't just, you gotta come up.
Actually, she can come up, she can
Run.
stand up right here and, oh.
Just give her the mic.
You can sit
Go to the
there. if you
microphone, you
can't
can
get up.
sit. Just, ma'am, you just need to be sworn in.
Yeah,
Can you
Hold on.
just need to be sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, so help you God?
the reason for having that area as large as it is, more than
Can you give us
likely,
your
I'll
name?
be
Excuse me. Can you give us your name? I didn't hear your name.
Susan Moak.
Susan. Okay, thank you, Susan. Oh,
Moak.
Be sworn
no,
in.
I apologize. No, I never do.
Very recently, my husband passed away. We were
She
married
needs to be sworn in.
53 years.
She was sworn in.
I was sworn
Yes.
sworn in.
Yes.
Okay, keep going.
We were married 53 years. And during this time of marriage, I have AFib. I've had a heart attack. I've had a stroke. And I have severe arthritis. And I'm waiting to have 4 different operations right now. And as soon as I get my house sold in Yardley Hunt, my plan, because of my possibility of really being possibly in a wheelchair, we needed to have open enough space for a wheelchair to get around in an area. It also had to be a large enough entry into a bathroom.
Mhm.
And this is the solution we kind of went over. I have 5 children. Jimmy offered this situation because he was very generous to offer it to me. And that's why we're looking for this as a solution to where I would like to be.
Well, I have to admit or say that Pete's solution really does solve all those problems if you just move it to the other side of the house. Are you opposed to that?
Well, we'd have to talk with our builder and talk.
Okay.
to the architect.
Yeah, all right. Well, you wanted to speak, so we wanted to see you speak. But that does sound like the better solution. That wouldn't bother you any, would it?
Anybody?
Sorry.
When you said the 21st, was that August or September?
September.
Okay.
But if your builder, if your architect comes up with plans that no longer require variances.
We just need a permit and we're off
And
and
you-
running.
Yes, you do not
Okay.
need to come through us. It's only because you're looking for relief from the zoning code.
You wouldn't even need to look at us.
Got it. Yep.
Mhm.
I think we're good.
Okay, do you want to continuance then? We have any public comment?
Needed.
We don't need it then, I guess.
Well, you know what?
You don't know whether, you don't know
You
whether.
have to say that, why don't you just take the continuous.
I would.
If you have to use it, you use it. It's already notified.
Okay,
If
There's no-
not, you're good to go.
that's the perfect solution. There's nobody public comment. Susan, is that okay? Your son, Jennifer says he is going to work that out with the architect. Good, all right. Hope we never see you again.
We have to make the motion.
We have to make the
We
motion.
have to make the
Motion
motions.
first.
I'll make the motion to continue appeal number 21-1927 until September 21st.
Second.
Second, any discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, guys, thank you very much. Good
Mr.
luck.
Zamparelli,
Yes,
I just want to let you know that the applicant for Appeal 21-1926 is now in the video room.
we already
So they
continued
are
that.
available to have their hearing.
Can we open it after we've continued it?
Prefer to just.
Yeah, let's open it.
Yeah.
If we could, if he's here.
Okay.
You have any problem with that?
No, I'd rather
No, let's get it done.
now.
Is that okay? No, I'm all for it. Okay, bring it. Good.
Oh, that's the problem.
That's the problem.
Oh, yeah.
I don't
Hold
think
on.
there was anyone on public comment for that. Was there? We asked before we continued it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry, if I may, there was two residents here that asked me for a copy of the plan to look at it. They were the neighbors and they left.
So then we have to.
We have to keep.
We got to stick with the continuance then. Sorry. There was a couple people in the audience.
Well, we should bring them in and explain it to them, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, bring them in. We can explain it to them.
Brian, you can hit *6 to unmute.
Hi, right here.
Hello? Can you hear us okay?
Yes, you there?
Yes, we're here.
All right.
We're
Right,
so
so-
sorry. I'm not
So-
sure what was going on, but we were having technical difficulties getting on the call, and our contractor was supposed to be here, but I'm not sure what's happening.
Okay,
with
we're going to
him.
explain it to you.
So since
Okay.
you weren't here and we didn't know where you were, the board voted to continue your hearing until September 21st. And the reason why we're going to stick with that is because there were residents here. We're not sure if they were for or against, but since they already left with the assumption that this hearing was not taking place today, we can't, now that they have left, continue the hearing. So, which might be better for you since if your contractor's not there anyway. So September 21st, your hearing is on the calendar for them. So if you come back then, that's when it will be heard, and hopefully we can avoid the technical issues then.
I mean, is there nothing we can do since we were here and couldn't get through?
Correct, but the issue is they already voted on it and people have already left, and we would have to continue the case. We would have to continue it anyway, would not be able to vote tonight. Anyway, so you'd be coming back either way.
Okay.
It's not your fault. Some technical difficulties, and they had left after we didn't hear from you, not your fault. And since they left, they wouldn't have a chance to comment. So that would be unfair. Sorry about that, but it has been continued to the 21st of September.
Okay.
Thank you. Which one was that?
That was 1926.
Yeah, okay.
2119.
Are we back with Derek Camp? What happened to 25?
Deck.
Deck. We're going right to deck?
Deck.
Deck.
We did.
We're going to deck, right. Okay, all right. All right, so now we're back in bill number 3, 21-1906. Gabriel Deck. Hey, guys. Mr. Murphy, how you doing? Justin? Good, good. Nice to see you guys again. Bring that expert up. Bringing your expert up.
Good evening.
Good evening, John.
John Fenningham for the McDonald's. And I believe we're at the point of the opposition presentation this evening through my two witnesses, Vincent Fioravanti, surveyor, engineer, who will go first, and time permitting, followed by Mr. McDonald, Scott McDonald.
And he's an engineer? Okay.
Yes,
PE, something like that? or-
I'm going to introduce him.
Okay. So we know he's an expert.
He's an expert.
John, can you give Ed the other microphone and you guys can share?
Thanks. John and I spoke briefly before tonight, and depending on how long John takes with his direct, we may not get to cross-examination, and much like we did the last time, maybe it's more efficient for John to run through both of his witnesses
Okay.
on direct, and then next time we'll cross and finish up presumably. So I think that's probably the way we will move tonight.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Murphy.
And to speed things up, after John introduces his witness, I will stipulate to his credentials and his qualifications, so we
Okay,
not have to go through that.
thank you.
Township does not oppose that either.
There you go. Got on the record.
We have this microphone between us. You can hear us?
If you get it closer, you have to sit a little tighter.
So Vince, will you state your name for the record?
Vincent. Vince, let me swear you first. Okay.
Swear.
Vince, you solemnly swear the testimony about to give will be the truth, so help you God?
Vince, you were retained by the McDonald's to assist them in opposition to the application before the board.
Yes.
When were you retained?
The exact date, June 13th,
18?
18.
It was after the June 15 hearing, and I had asked for a continuance that evening for that reason. And Vince, just to lay a foundation, you are certified as a land surveyor
Yes,
in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania,
correct.
also certified as a civil engineer in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Yes,
You've testified as an expert before this board and other boards in the Bucks County areas, in the areas of expertise of surveying, civil engineering, and land development. Is that correct?
correct.
I offer Mr. Viravanti as an expert in those fields.
Okay with that, Mr. Murphy? Okay,
No objection.
no objections?
Right.
You're an expert.
Been called worse.
Vince, in preparing for your testimony this evening, did you review the documents, exhibits that were entered into this record on June 15?
I did.
And they were entered on behalf of the applicants, the decks.
Correct.
Did you also review the transcript of Justin Gianotti's testimony before this board on June 15?
I did.
Were you present during the August 3 hearing when I questioned Justin in regard to his plan exhibits and his testimony?
Yes,
Did you also review exhibits A13, A14, and A15, which were admitted into this record through Justin on August 3?
yes,
So you heard me ask Justin if the proposed dwelling structure to be constructed on the flag lot parcel would be located within the floodplain area as defined in the township ordinance.
yes,
And do you agree with Justin's testimony that it is not proposed to be situated or constructed in the floodplain area?
no,
Did you
Will
say
the-
no?
no,
Will the proposed residential structure actually be situated and located in the floodplain area as that term is defined in the township's ordinance?
yes,
Is your expert opinion in that regard to a reasonable degree of engineering and surveying certainty?
it is.
Have you prepared rebuttal plans and graphs to be presented to the board this evening?
I have.
Before we proceed to those, could you also tell the board what you reviewed in addition to the items that we discussed a moment ago?
I reviewed the township code, FEMA maps, published information, the exhibits presented by the applicants, transcripts of the testimony.
And specifically, did you review the definitions within the zoning ordinance, including the following: base flood elevation, the flood insurance rate map firm, the flood insurance study, referred to as FIS, the identified floodplain area as a term within the zoning ordinance, and floodplain area also within the ordinance? Did you review those definitions?
Yes, I did.
And in regard to stormwater management, did you review the small project exemption provisions of section 173-6?
Yes,
And I asked you to do that because Justin testified with regard to the applicability of the small project exemption for this application. Is that correct?
yes,
Did you also review provision 200-53B that speaks in terms of the priority of application of restrictions with regard to the floodplain area in this township?
yes,
I also, excuse me. The applicant, through Justin's testimony, also presented to the board what's been marked for identification as Exhibit A13, identified as floodplain management requirements with a separate document that's titled Unit 4 Using NFIP Studies and Maps. Did you review this exhibit?
I did.
Do you have an opinion whether these regulations or information, these guides, are addressed to a zoning hearing board?
My opinion is that they are not. They're typically used for insurance and for floodplain administration.
Does the study guide, or let me say this, does the Exhibit A13 supersede the definitions within the township ordinance that requires consideration of the flood insurance rate map and the flood insurance study?
No.
And in fact, aren't those FEMA documents referred to specifically in the definitions that you reviewed as we discussed a moment ago?
Yes, they are.
And I asked you about, let me ask you, there's a section in the township ordinance 200-51E7. You evaluate that provision in connection with the proposed development of the flag lot parcel.
I did.
Why is this zoning ordinance relevant to the board's consideration of this application?
This is the wetlands section.
Yes.
There's specific provisions in the ordinance whereupon wetlands located adjacent to a stream within 2 miles of the Delaware River are to be the subject of an independent wetland study. And this project is less than 2 miles from the Delaware. There are wetlands between the site and the stream that would fall into this category, and no independent wetland study was done that I have seen.
And is it your opinion, based on all that you reviewed to testify tonight, that an independent wetlands impact study is information that should be made available and reviewed by the zoning board?
Yes, it says a township shall require.
Separately, then, do you have an opinion, based on your expertise, whether this application should be reviewed by the zoning hearing board under the application of the small project exemption under the township ordinance?
No, we'll get into this when we start looking through my exhibits, but I don't believe that this site really qualifies for the exemption. There are provisions in the ordinance that allow the township to deny the exemption if the area is adjacent to flood hazard areas or flooding problems. There are some provisions that allow the exemption to be denied.
And for point of focus, that's section 173.6H, as in Harry, subparagraph 2. Again, 173-6H2. Aside from your review of the plan exhibits, both June 15 and August 3, your review of Mr. Gianotti's testimony, and your review of the township documents, ordinance, did you do anything else to prepare for this evening?
Yes, I did prepare some exhibits to illustrate our findings and what our opinion is as to the location of the floodplain and generally with respect to the improvements that are proposed.
Did you do a field study in connection with the two parcels at issue, the flag lot and the flagpole parcel?
Yes.
When did you do the survey?
Approximately a week ago.
And did you survey the parcel by yourself, or were you assisted by a survey crew?
Actually, in this situation, we were tying into the FEMA benchmark, and we actually had to hire an outside firm because we couldn't get the GPS equipment fast enough. So I was assisted by a field survey crew, independent, that we hired, an independent field survey crew that we hired.
Did you personally supervise the survey crew on site?
Yes.
Did you need to access the flag lot or flagpole parcels to conduct the survey?
No, we compared the datum and the elevations and the intersections on fixed objects so that we can make a comparison between the elevations on the property and the elevations as they would be if they were tied into the FEMA benchmark.
And is it your expert opinion, based on the field survey work that you conducted, that the proposed residential structure will be located within the floodplain area?
Yes.
want to focus on the subject of peak flow calculations. Justin testified on June 15, pages 51 and 52 of his transcript of testimony provided to me by Bill Campbell, that the amount of surface water flow would be basically nothing. Do you recall reading that testimony?
Yes.
Did you evaluate the data that Justin was relying upon?
I did look at the storm calculations that were proposed, and they were in accordance with the exemption and water quality standards, but I did not see any calculations regarding peak flows.
And did you form an opinion whether the volume and velocity of surface water flow caused by a storm event will be basically nothing? You agree with Justin?
No, it's my opinion that the proposed dwelling and the paving will alter stream flows, will increase peak flows, and will cause redirected flows and impacts to the site and downstream.
And the applicant through Justin also testified to proposed site improvements, including a rain garden. Did you evaluate the proposed rain garden as an effective stormwater management control?
In my opinion, as we'll go through with my exhibits, I don't believe that the rain garden will be effective with the location of the site in regards to its vicinity within the floodplain.
And did you review the flagpole lot in its present condition with respect to surface water flow and stormwater management?
Yes, what we're referring to as the flagpole lot is the separate lot. I believe it was 16 or 18 foot wide by the length of the property. And then I also believe it was part of a paper street at one time. But that's the area that the new driveway will be constructed in. And there's about 25 or 2,600 square feet of blacktop there. And if we were to look at the existing conditions, and I have photographs, it's densely vegetated. It contains trees and shrubbery, evergreens, and it's going to be replaced by 25 or 2,600 square feet of blacktop, which will be aimed directly at the stream and not controlled. And I believe that will also be an issue that will have negative impacts on the downstream area.
And with regard to the proposed residential structure, will that itself have any impact on the volume and velocity of surface water flow?
Yes, it will have an adverse impact on both.
Why?
From when we go through our exhibits, you'll see the scenario that we're painting, that the dwelling is located in the floodplain. It's going to alter flows around the dwelling. It's going to block flows from reaching the stream during the 100-year events and the 50-year events. And I think the peak flow or the peak flow exemptions that the project is proposed under, it is under 5,000 square feet, but it is located in the floodplain, as I'll show. And I think it's being looked at piecemeal. And I think the exemption criteria doesn't apply to a site like this. And there are provisions in the ordinance to allow the township to not allow the exemption. And I think that's what should happen in this case.
That's your opinion based on a reasonable degree of surveying and engineering expertise?
Yes.
And certainty?
Yes.
Now, one other item, Justin testified to a rain barrel, a collection system, a gutter system with respect to the proposed dwelling. Will that have any significant or any impact on controlling surface water flow?
No, the rain garden and the rain barrel, those type of improvements and the disconnection of impervious surfaces, they're typical improvements on a small project that, let's say, is not located in a floodplain. If a small project is located in a well-drained area, no hazardous areas next to it, there's no ponding water around it, then the ordinance only requires management of water quality. And then you'll see rain gardens and rain barrels and things like that. If the house is in the floodplain, and even if you look at the applicant's prior testimony, they had the floodplain 700 cubic feet per second, I believe, 2 feet from the house. Now, I don't know, does anyone think that a house 2 feet from a raging stream of 700 cubic feet per second and the water is 2 feet from the house? That doesn't sound like a good idea to me. Sounds dangerous, and and as I can show you, I think that actually the floodplain will hit the house and go around the house.
You visited the site both for the survey and prior to that. You're familiar with the adjoining property owned by our client, the McDonald's.
Yes.
And do you have an opinion whether that the lack of controls will have a impact upon surface water flowing onto the McDonald's property.
I do have an opinion, and I think it will have an adverse impact.
Will that impact be, can you measure that impact? Will it be slight? Will it be significant? What's the range of volumetric measurement?
Well, I think it'll be significant. I wouldn't be able to measure it volumetrically. Well, maybe we could if we did enough studies, but it's redirected flow, which is always something that you try not to do on a property, is redirect flow to downstream adjoiners. It'd also have an impact that it will raise levels, raise velocity, and impede flow and change the characteristics in that area, which is something you never want to do with stormwater management. But it's just a difficult site. So it's hard to put anything in the path of the stream without altering everything.
When you say the stream, are you referring to the surface water or the existing creek that flows to Silver Lake?
Well, actually both. The stream that flows to Silver Lake, if we're correct and the house is in the floodplain, it alters the stream flow during the 100-year storm. It also intercepts flow coming to the stream from the house above it, as it will have to go around the house as opposed to going straight to the stream. So I'm referring to both, actually.
And you're aware of the condition of the creek during a storm event?
Yes.
You've observed that?
Yes, on the day that we surveyed, it had rained that night. We thought we were going to have to cancel the survey crew, and it only rained for a couple of hours, as I recall. Maybe it stopped at 6 a.m. and we were there at 7 a.m. And you'll see photos of the stream and how fast the stream responds and swells and how flat the overbank areas are.
And did you take a photograph that's depicted on one of your rebuttal exhibits?
I did.
And we'll get to that. Let me ask you to discuss for the board the difference between graphic plotting and actual field survey work.
Okay, the term graphic plotting, it's not an accepted term, but typically means, if you can imagine, you have two pictures on a computer screen and you blow one up so that they're the same size and you kind of slide them around and put them on top of each other, and then you trace one boundary onto another. And it's a way to put an approximate boundary onto one layer from another layer. But it's approximate. It's never exact, but it's something that's done with planning type submittals. And I can, to differentiate that between the field surveys are more accurate. Again, anytime you were to take any kind of Google Earth image and you have let's say you had a deed that was plotted to exact dimensions, and then you took a Google Earth image of a property and the fence was on the property line, and you try to lay them on top of each other, you can hold the back part, but the front part doesn't work. So you hold the side, the left side, and the right side doesn't work. So you kind of average it out and make it so it generally is, in accordance with what you want it to show, but it's just not accurate. So that's what a graphic plot would mean to me.
If I could, I'd make just a proffer that Exhibit A4, the zoning plan, has notes on that plan that I discussed with Justin on August 3. And one of them, note 32, discusses that the plan was based upon graphic plotting. Also, there's a note that the Alta survey record Exhibit A7 is the zoning plan is based upon Exhibit A7. And if you recall, that exhibit in the left bottom corner has a note also referring to by graphic plotting only. Vince, did you review both of those exhibits, A4 and A7?
Yes, I saw that disclaimer note on 2 or 3 exhibits. One of them actually said that no field survey work was done to establish the flood zone. And then I saw the other notes that said that graphic plotting only, and that a FEMA submission might be made and you might need a variance. So there were disclaimers in all the exhibits, which was the first thing that caught my eye. You can do graphic plotting. You can get the floodplain from the county and slide it under and trace it on. And I don't know how the floodplain was arrived at. And that's, since we had time, we went and we tied into FEMA ourselves and we compared elevations.
Okay, we're about to get there. I just want to ask 2 more questions. Can you explain that analysis of the field survey and the accuracy of elevations through your rebuttal plans? Will you do that?
Yes.
Okay. And just to go back, did the applicant so far on this record present any volumetric calculations or analyses to support the proposed development?
I believe they had the small project water quality volume calculations, but I didn't see the details in the rain garden to substantiate the volumes, or I didn't see like proposed grading in the rain garden, only a schematic representation of where it will be located. So the calculations that were presented were based on the exemption being granted and just dealing with water quality and small project type stormwater issues.
And again, just to reconfirm, it's your expert opinion that that small project exemption should be denied by the board with regard to this proposed project.
Yes.
All right, can we proceed to your rebuttal exhibits?
Yes.
Now, I haven't, let me back up. I presented photographs and video presentations, which we marked with the designation MAC for McDonald, and I believe they're 001 to 035. We'll get to those through Mr. McDonald's. So with that background, I wanted to wait to see how you wanted to mark these additional exhibits. This could be MAC 036, I believe would be the next designation.
Yeah, if you want to stick with your pre-marked numbers, you can do that, or you can do A, B, C. It's up to you.
Okay, well, it might be simpler if I could propose this, that we'll refer to these 4 exhibits as VF1, Vince Fioravanti 1, Vince Fioravanti 2, Vince Fioravanti 3, and Vince Fioravanti 4. Okay, if that may be an easier designation. Well, we'll do that, yeah. All right, so we have up, we don't have it on the remote, but we do have the easel here. And I believe I sent to Barbara, you have them. Okay, so everybody has it.
I think Jim can pull it up. He's doing the photos. Jim, can you put up the exhibit, Silver Creek #1, Federal Emergency Management Agency, the FEMA profile? That one, yep.
That's all.
Yeah, I sent you the. Okay. All right. So Vince, on the screen and on the easel is what we refer to as exhibit VF1. Would you explain to the board what that is?
Okay, this is the FEMA profile map that I believe was probably discussed in earlier testimony in the applicant's exhibits. Matter of fact, I believe that was Justin's exhibit marked in red. And on top of that, you can see just some additional line work that I put in blue. Now, I don't know if I should approach the exhibit or.
May he approach the exhibit?
Yeah. Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Did you say what the work that you added was in blue?
In blue, yes.
Okay, I see that. You had that?
There are blue lines and elevations that are superimposed on this same exhibit.
Ah.
It's difficult to see from a distance. And it looks black. You can see it on the board. You can see it in blue up there. So first, we're looking at the plans, and we're looking at the floodplain. The first issue is the property, is the building in the floodplain or isn't it? So we first looked at the maps, and first thing we saw was the notes, that it wasn't tied into the FEMA benchmark. And just a quick.
If I could slow down a bit, because you're going into some technical stuff, so just.
Okay. So the first question was, we saw the notes about the benchmark and it wasn't tied in. No field survey work was done. So when you're comparing a FEMA elevation to a ground surface, of course, they have to be on the same elevation. So if I were to say that this desktop is elevation 100, then this table is elevation 98, and then I can survey the whole room. Then if I come back and say, no, this is 103, every elevation changes, because they all change with respect to some benchmark somewhere. So when FEMA does their studies, they take cross sections of the stream, they model the flow that comes down the stream, and it has an elevation to it. Now you look at the FEMA benchmark or the FEMA study, and we say, well, cross section V, that stream is going to overflow its banks to elevation 88, 88.1 actually. So then you say, all right, well, where's 88.1 on the ground? So now I can see that's 88.1. Where is it on the ground?
Vince, let me interrupt you if I may. I overlooked this question. Did the exhibits presented by Justin graphically plot both the water elevation and the land elevation?
Well, the 88.1, the survey was done in the field. As I review the information, it looks like the survey was field run, but I don't know whether it was tied into FEMA's benchmark or not. The plan says that it wasn't. So
What does that mean, if you could explain?
Okay.
In regard to land elevation and water elevation.
Okay.
You just talked and pointed to the podium.
Right, well, you can do an elevation. Let's say I'm going to do a survey of a property. And my surveyors go out, you pound 2 nails in the street and you survey the whole property. And you just say that nail number 1 is elevation 100. So now you have a complete topographic survey based on that nail being 100. And then sometimes.
That is what? That is a land elevation?
Yes, land elevation. And it's just an arbitrary number that you assign to it to do the topography. So now you have an accurate 3D topography of the entire site based on that nail being 100. And then depending on the property and the situation, you can look up in the Bucks County Planning Commission and you can see like contour elevations that go through that intersection. Say a 300 contour goes through the intersection. Then you can say, well, make that PK, adjust that nail to 300. So now your entire site is based like elevation 300, 301, but it's not exact. You just said, well, that'll make that nail 300 because 300 is around here somewhere. So you're on the datum, but you're not really tied into FEMA. Now, if you really want to compare FEMA's study to the ground, you have to have your topography exactly on their benchmark. So that your 88 is the same as their 88. So the old days, what you used to do, FEMA used to have benchmarks everywhere, bridge overpasses, PennDOT bridges and railroads, they had discs with elevations on them. So we would survey to the disc, survey back to the property, and get an elevation on that nail and adjust the site. Now we can compare the topography to the water elevation because now they're based on the same elevation. So that's what we used to do. But now with GPS, they stopped maintaining all these benchmarks. Now they're 5 miles away. Now you go to the satellite and back, so you need the GPS equipment. So you're doing the same thing, but you're doing it with GPS satellites and everything.
Is that more accurate?
It's the same as accurate as when we used to survey to it, but now it takes 10 minutes instead of 10 hours. So we saw the elevations, we saw the topography, we saw the note that it's not based on FEMA or no field survey work was done to establish the flood zone. Where is that 88 contour, let's say? So it looks approximately like it was okay when I looked at the elevations in the intersection, but I wasn't sure. And it says that it wasn't tied in. So we had a survey crew go and check the elevations on their exhibits based on FEMA's datum.
And what was their elevation, just to remind the board, on the applicant's exhibits?
Well, there were a couple of different elevations, but ours turned out to be about 2/10 less everywhere. So 2/10, 2 times 12, 2.5, 3 inches different. So it doesn't sound horrible, but on a site like this, 3 inches could be another 12 feet. When a site is flat, if you have a site that's 1%, for every foot vertical, you go 100 foot horizontal. So if the site's on the side of a cliff, then half a foot doesn't matter. But if you're level and you go up a half a foot, it can go over 50 feet. So this is a flat site and it did make a difference. But I'm getting ahead of myself and I'm looking at the profile. The first other thing I noticed, and you can see this profile has a slope to it. So it's inaccurate to say that the elevation is 88 or 88.1 for the entire site because the elevation changes. It's higher. As you go upstream, the elevation gets higher. So if it's 88.1 in one spot, if I go over 100 feet, which I did in blue, I went over 100 feet, it's 88.5. So that line should start at 88 and it should go up to 88.5. Even forget about the survey work, even assuming that the applicant's elevation was tied into FEMA perfectly, it's not 88 all the way across the site. It might be 88 on the low part of the site and 100 feet over, it's 88.5. So the line has a slope to it, which brings it closer to the house. And we'll go into that, but that's the exhibit here is just how I arrived at the elevations. I went over 100 feet, I got 88.5. I looked, and this is how sensitive this is. and why I think it's a bad idea to have a house here. I also looked at the 42.5, the same cross-section that the applicant has. Instead of 88.2, I read 88.3. If I'm looking at the top of the line, if I get a microscope and I go in here and I get to where that section V hits the surface for the 100-year storm, I come over to the right, you see 88.3 on that exhibit instead of 88.2. So I'll show you when I flip to the next exhibit, what all this means. So if you'll go to the next exhibit.
This is VF2. Title is Revised Floodplain Line.
Okay, now the one on the screen, let me say this. First, we talked about the elevations. On the manual one, I just took a highlighter before I came here, and I highlighted the 88 contour and the 89 contour. I don't know if you can see that from where you're sitting. They're in yellow here. But the two contour lines, they vary in width. You know, when the contours are closer together, the site is steeper. When the contours are farther apart, the land is more flat, right? So if you see, and I'll come over to this one for a moment. They look like combs here. What I did is between 88 and 89, I divided it into 10 equal pieces, right? So 88, 88.1, 88.2, 88.3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 89, right? So between each contour, there's 10 tenths, you know, so you're evenly distributed. So up here, where the site is steep, the difference between 88 and 88.1 is very little. But if you have a big flat area, the differences could be 15 feet, 1/10. So the first, what I would call an error on here is that the flood hazard area was 88 all the way across. Now, the floodplain's not 88 everywhere. Matter of fact, it's right at the edge of the deck here at 88. The cross-section V was through the house, was this one, which really is 88.1. So here's 88, here's 88.1, it's on the deck already. And then if I go 100 feet, I'm at 88.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm here. So I read 88.3 when I moved over at the same point that they had 88. And I think the applicant may have said 88.2 to be safe. And the house was 2 feet from 88.2. When I take 88.2, I'm over here and I'm in the house. And I actually think it's 88.3. I think it's here when I read the profile. So you can see how much a tenth makes. It also illustrates how sensitive this kind of model is to where that water is going to actually be. We're talking about 1/10 of a foot, and I'm going over 10 feet. Here I got 88.5, and you can see the elevations and where the floodplain line is, and it's hitting the house and it's in the deck. And then recall that I also had a survey crew come out, check the elevations. We were about 2/10 lower, the surface of the ground, 2/10 lower than the elevations that they had up here. So if they're 2/10 lower, that means the water is 2/10 deeper. So if I take 2 more tenths, now I'm at the red line. Now I have the red line, which I believe would be a conservative estimate of where the floodplain would be based on our field work, and now I'm even more into the house. But even if I didn't bring the surveyors out and I used their elevations, and I read the profile, it's still in the floodplain, according to the way I interpret this. And again, it just shows how close, I mean, with their elevations, they had the 88.2. You can see the contours completely parallel to the 88. It's not completely parallel. The contours vary all over the place. And, you know, and they'll be spreading apart depending on how flat or how steep the property is. So
Let me just clarify. So the red line that's depicted on Exhibit VF2, that is your expert opinion of where the elevation is in regard to the 100-year storm event?
yes, that'd be my interpretation of where the 100-year flood line would be based on their topo and our field datum check. So I'm still using their contours. I believe they surveyed the site, and I believe that there's a foot difference between where the 88 and the 89 is. And then the location of the water is going to vary according to the FEMA study. 88.5, 100 feet from where that section is. But it's definitely not level. It definitely doesn't stay at 88. And the 88.2 contour definitely does not mirror the 88 with a fixed offset. That would be like a fixed slope, which doesn't exist there.
So the proposed dwelling is actually in the floodplain area in your.
I believe it is, yes.
And that's depicted on this exhibit VF2.
Yes.
You go to VF3, or are you completed with VF?
Yes, I am.
Tell the board what this depicts.
I guess I'll wait until it comes up on the screen here. It's larger. Okay, so now I'm taking the next step and I'm saying, well, what if the floodplain is the blue line or the red line? And I believe it to be the red line, but even if I didn't send the surveyors, it would be the blue line, according to how I interpret everything. You see the flow hours. Now I'm in a 100-year flood, and I have the flow hours coming from the bottom of the screen to the top. Now they're hitting the garage. Now they're going around the house. They're going over the deck. When it goes around the house, it's going into the rain garden. The flow from above. Now see, the water quality type of improvements, they don't really work in this neighborhood. You know, that part of the stormwater ordinance is for small projects, no flooding problems, no immediately downstream areas. If you look in the storm ordinance, it says if those things exist, that the exemption should be denied. So you'll see here, I have this rain garden here. The stream's going to hit the house and go around it and fill the rain garden. The water from that roof is going to be piped into the rain garden. The deck is going to be covered with water. The house is sitting in the water. Also, this driveway, when we talked about, when we talk about it, but I heard the testimony about if this were on a different lot, that disconnection of impervious surface is a thing you do when you're not worried about peak flow rates. You know, you're cleansing the water, you're letting it flow over grassy areas. If you look at this 2391 square feet of paving, if you look at the picture in the bottom left, see this area behind the stop sign? That's the area where this new driveway will be cut in. So I'm pointing to the lower left. That's the existing driveway, which you can't see, but I'm going to hold my pencil here. That's the existing driveway is here. So the new driveway is going to take all this out. So you're going to replace landscaping and shrubbery and trees with a straight shot driveway, 2,000 square feet, that let's say it's a 50-year storm. It's not a 100-year storm, so the floodplain isn't in the house. You know, it's a 50-year storm. That's a lot of extra water. We're talking about peak flows, 2,000 square feet, driving into this stream and then flowing downstream. There's no peak flow attributes here to this plan because only 5,000 square feet of paving doesn't require it. But I'm suggesting that in this kind of neighborhood, that exemption shouldn't be granted, and that's why that provision's in the ordinance. You have a small job on this lot, it's not a small job anymore. And so I think this entire driveway here will stay uncontrolled. During the 100-year storm, the outlet here for this rain garden, see, it doesn't really work. The outlet for the rain garden will be underwater. The invert, I can read it on this one. The invert that the rain garden's tying into is 8496, and the top of the grate is 88.3, and we got 88.18 there. Talking about this inlet here. So the bottom of that inlet's 84, but during a 100-year storm, the water is at 88, so that whole thing is full of water. If you were to dig this down a foot or two, the rain garden, it's going to fill with water. Because the 100-year storm is going to kick in, the water is going to be peaked in. If this inlet right here is already full of water, especially if we use ours, it's underwater already. So that's never getting out here. Matter of fact, what's going to happen is the flow will probably come backwards, fill this rain garden. This flow is coming down into that rain garden. The roof is into the rain garden. It's just going to overflow and go into the McDonald property in a different way. Talk about redirecting the flows. A different way than it did before. Before, the water would come down and then it would flow in this direction. But now, maybe in a 50-year storm, this is going to overflow this way. I mean, I don't know, I didn't model it. But what I can say is this outlet pipe was underwater. And let's say I look at the grate and I look down in, it's 2.5 feet deep, filled, or during the heavy storms, it's probably coming out of here and filling up. So it's going backwards. It's just I got a tough spot, to put the dwelling. And even, like I said, even forgetting the 0.2 difference that we have in elevations, just the fact that it's not 88 and look how close it is to the house. And the fact that we're that sensitive to a couple tenths in elevation just goes to illustrate it. There's another picture here in the center of the stream area that was swollen when we went with the survey crew. You can see how flat the area is. I mean, if we can get the full exhibit here.
Jim's computer.
We should have a couple pictures at the bottom.
Where was that picture taken?
This is on the McDonald's property adjacent to the driveway. I didn't go on the applicant's property at all.
It's facing east, correct?
It's downstream. So the subject property is upstream of it. This is immediately downstream. The driveway is over here to the McDonald's. Yes. Yes. Now, we didn't do any survey work over there, but it's mapped as a floodplain on the county. I wouldn't be surprised if it's in the floodplain. Absolutely. But the difference with that situation, and I've been involved in many of them, is there are existing situations, where there's houses in floodplains, the whole neighborhoods are in floodplains. And then sometimes when a house gets flooded and it gets abandoned, I've been involved in raising the house and redesigning it and making the basement walls blow out so the stream can go underneath the house. And you deal with it. But it's an existing non-conforming kind of situation. But this isn't. There's a choice, I guess. You could say this is a proposed house in the floodplain, which in my mind is different than an existing one that you have to make some changes to. One more exhibit on the bottom right here. I just wanted to illustrate this. Excuse the graphics here, but this is a stream channel. And we know with a floodplain that I just threw in there in 2 seconds, but I wanted to illustrate the difference in the situations. If my proposed house, and we look to the right, that red rectangle on the right, okay, and so if someone told me that my house was 2 feet from the floodplain and it was this house and it was 2 feet away but up on a cliff or something, then I'd feel safe. If somebody told me I'm 2 feet from a floodplain and I'm in this house, I don't feel safe. Because if one thing changes the channel, a tree falls and backs up the flow, if the area adjacent to the stream is flat, then it's really sensitive to anything vertical. So a couple tenths off, 3 or 4 inches higher, and the house on the left could have it spread 50 feet, whereas the house on the right's okay if it's 3 inches. So horizontally, if I'm looking at our situation, I think we're here on the left, and that's why, just to illustrate that. And you can see the stream channel and the overbanks are flat and low lying, and you can even see on the topography the difference between the 88 and 89 contours. Might be a 1% or 2% at best. But it's very sensitive. No matter whose floodplain is right, both of us have the floodplain very close to the house, and then I have it hitting the house. And I think that's kind of sums up all of our concerns on it. Oh, and then I have another exhibit, the next one.
This is BF4, and it's titled Wetlands Within 2 Miles of Delaware River. Explain what it shows, when it appears.
Yes. Okay, on this exhibit, it's the Bucks County GIS, and this is also an example. You can see how they have elevations on here. There are approximate elevations. They're good for overall land planning and drainage studies, and they map floodplains and everything. And you can get approximate elevations. I can survey a property and say, I see the 125 contour at that intersection. We adjust to 125. And if the floodplain's not a big deal on the property, that's good enough. In this situation, the floodplain's a very big deal. So that's why I think it just has to be tied in. But this exhibit was really for the location of the wetlands. So you can see, also on this Bucks County GIS, which is one of the better counties really, you can map the distance to the Delaware from the project site. And it's over here at 6,900 feet. So it's less than the 2 miles. And so therefore, it appears as I read the ordinance that the township shall require an independent wetlands evaluation for wetlands associated with a stream that's within 2 miles of the Delaware. And I have that noted on the exhibit. So that was the purpose of this, just to show where the dimensions came from. I think that summarizes all of our rebuttal exhibits that I have.
Okay, now. In Exhibit A4, which is the zoning plan, there is a note 7, bracket 2, that expressly describes that there is no building envelope. Did you review that note in your preparation for this evening?
Yes.
And why is it expressed that there is no building envelope?
I believe if you took the setbacks from the resource protected lands, which include streams and wetlands and wooded areas, then there would be no building setback on the property.
So it's the presence of the existing natural resources and wetlands area that is the basis for the note prepared by Justin that there's no building envelope on the flag lot parcel. Is that your testimony?
Yes, and the intent of the ordinance is to prevent development into this type of area.
And let me ask a balanced question. So a homeowner wants to build on an unimproved lot that has natural resources to the degree that this flag lot parcel and flagpole parcel have. Does the desire to build supersede the protection of the natural resources? He's an expert in land development. Can you answer the question?
Could you repeat it?
Does the notion that a homeowner or a property owner should be able to build on an unimproved lot supersede the protection under the township ordinances of natural resources?
Answer it?
Yes.
In my opinion, it doesn't supersede.
So the township ordinances protecting the natural resources should govern over the notion that a property owner should be able to build on any lot.
And that was the intent of the ordinance. That's why the regulations exist.
Final question. Do you have an opinion based on all of your review that you just described that the development of the flag lot parcel and the flagpole parcel will exacerbate the current conditions in connection with the creek and the flow through the McDonald's property to Silver Lake?
I believe that it will, yes.
And when you say that any development will exacerbate those existing conditions?
Yes, correct.
Bear with me for just a moment. Section 200-56, C2 of the Township Ordinance has a title drainage facilities. And within that definition or that provision, it addresses storm drainage facilities. And I will quote the last sentence for the record. The system referring to storm drainage facilities shall also be designed to prevent the discharge of excess runoff onto adjacent properties. Has the applicant presented evidence of the degree or volume of excess runoff if the two parcels are developed as proposed?
No, they actually are presenting the project as though the exemption would be granted, and they're only really taking into account the 2-year storm. I believe there was testimony that the increase in the peak rate runoff for the 100-year storm would be, I thought there was a 0.2 CFS number thrown out, but I didn't see any calculations. But again, as I showed during the 100-year storm, if the house is in the floodplain, there's going to be a lot of currents and redirection of flow and excess runoff. Even in storms exceed, not as bad as the 100-year storm, 50-year storm, 25-year storm. There's 2,000 square feet of driveway with that's uncontrolled. That's going to be flowing into the stream. And under the exemption, you don't have to worry about peak flows, but I think the exemption is not warranted here.
And is the benchmark that is to be applied the 100-year storm event?
Yes, typically the ordinance, the way it's written without the exemptions, is that peak flows would be controlled for all storm events.
That's all the questions I have. I may have redirect if there's cross-exam this evening. If that's it, okay. Another half hour, please.
Ed, do you want to cross-examine him? Oh.
Town.
You have anything? Nothing?
I have no questions.
You want to wait till the next meeting? Is that what you're saying? Okay.
If we're going to go to another night, I'd prefer to present Mr. McDonald at the next night, if that's the board's pleasure.
Makes sense to me.
Sure. Yeah, Ed, man.
What, microphone?
You need to get a little closer to the microphone.
Mr. Murphy wasn't using a microphone.
So you want to bring in? Yeah, well, he's the expert, right?
If you cross now,
He won't have to
then
come
Vince is
back.
done, and then we can do just McDonald the next meeting. Does that make sense?
Oh.
Understood.
Air cross based on.
All right, then,
I have no objection to.
if he wants to wait, I understand that.
Yeah, I have no objection. We were getting the exhibits. We got the photographs and the videos last week. I got the exhibits today. So I have no objection to.
No, I think he should wait to see what he's got.
I think it's fair.
Took a while for me to consume it all.
So can I ask a question procedurally? Mr. Fenningham distributed a Dropbox of exhibits for tonight's hearing.
Yes.
You're saying there were 35 photographs?
That was last week. Last week, my paralegal sent to Jamie the photographs and 4 short videos, or I think they're 2-minute each.
I saw the videos. One of
Yeah.
them was like 8 minutes. There were 4 videos. The photographs that I was able to download, or I didn't download it, but I looked at them. It appeared to be different files, but when I clicked on them, it all seemed to be the same pictures. And I think there were only about 8.
7.
7,
That's
okay.
why I'm questioning.
Right, so
because-
I know I did not see 35 pictures.
I know I didn't either.
Well, it was all this afternoon when we received them. Oh.
Yeah, I think, well, honestly, the intent, my understanding was we sent them to the township for distribution last week.
Okay.
And I can tell you that
Oh,
there's,
Jim Majewski didn't send them to us until 4-ish this afternoon.
And I stand, but your paralegal is Denise Slivka?
Yep.
I'm looking at a email dated August 17th, today at 3:22, enclosing the exhibits.
that was with the 4 exhibits we just went through.
Yeah, and what Jim sent us, he did say it was including older stuff, but here's Jim.
There's a.
Yeah, I don't have, I only
You
got
have
7
35
photos.
pictures.
The exhibits that were in the Dropbox that were distributed to everyone today, I believe there are 4 files of pictures. Each file contains numerous photographs. So that's where Mr. Fenningham is saying that there's over 30 photographs. Each of those exhibits has multiple photographs.
Yeah,
I looked at all of each of the files. And so if if Jim could pull them up, I'm assuming Mr. McDonald's going to testify,
yes.
right? Then we can view them here. I was not able to view them before tonight. I'll put it to you that way.
Well, maybe.
I don't know if the rest of the
I didn't
board
see any of
was, yeah.
I
don't
can
have an
represent the
email
good,
either on it.
the effort
Here
was
they
to
are.
get them to the township last week. I thought we did. There's 4 groups and they're associated by date of the photograph. March 11, 2021, July 12, 2021, August 4, 2020, and August 14, 2018. So we were giving an array of conditions involving the creek. So in fairness, again, I thought you all had these. I would say I'd bring these through, make sure you all have them for the next hearing, and Mr. McDonald, who took these photos, will go through them with
We
you.
can bring them
Is
up on
that
the
going to be
screen,
the
can't we?
focus of his
Yeah,
testimony?
I may have been looking at the
Because there
same
would be little-
location and just thought they were the same photographs. So
Okay.
that may have
If we can
been.
bring them up on that. I
Yeah.
don't really, I never check my email, so.
Okay. Well, they were also bait stamped. I did that to, to differentiate the various photographs, but
That may
I
be
didn't
10
see
days out before I check my email again.
I didn't see.
You want to bring them up on the screen there and show them there and,
Oh, yeah, he's got.
yeah, I don't have any of that.
Mhm.
I'm looking right now. I don't see any of it.
it answered me a question. I think the presentation of Mr. McDonald will be about a half an hour.
Let's wait for that, for him to digest what he's.
Well, I'm trying, I think everybody's interest would be trying to get this done the
Yeah,
next meeting.
we all want to get it done, but we want to be able to make sure everybody sees
Well,
everything.
if we cross-examine Vince next time, we'll
Okay,
Justin and then.
that sounds correct to me. You all right with that?
Fine with that.
Vince?
So we want to hear Mr. McDonald this evening, right? That's what you're asking?
No, I was going
He
to
would
propose to
prefer to wait
defer him to next hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Can I ask another question?
It's fine with me. I'm
And
fine
are
with the
we
next
gonna-
meeting.
will
but-
be allotted a limited amount of time at the, I assume, is it September 21? It sounds like everything.
We already have. Well, quite
could do a
frankly,
special
I'd like a special meeting. Because I love everybody, but this is really taking a long time. People are sitting around, and this is a lot more involved. So if we can figure out a special meeting, maybe Jim can we can come up with a meeting date where we all can agree on, make sure Barb's here and Vince can be here and John and Justin and Ed and the rest of us.
Off the record, I streamlined Vince because of the time constraints, but I won't recall him. We'll go right to Mr. McDonald.
Okay,
And then maybe I'll reserve, if there's cross-exam, I might reserve some redirect.
so do we have a possible date where we can have a special meeting?
Do August 31st in 2 weeks.
You want to do that? August 31st? Would you
weeks
be all
from
right by
tonight.
then, Ed? That's only 2 weeks away.
Do we not have a September 7th meeting?
Yeah, I don't believe so because it's Rosh Hashanah.
Oh, that's-
No, come on.
Which I'm away anyway, so I'm up.
Celebrating.
I'm hoping to, I don't know, if it will be, but we'll see.
Vince is checking his schedule. I'm good on August 31.
Vince has been the squeaky wheel on all this, so. I think that's a better idea.
I do too, because then we won't be constrained with the others. Yeah.
Unusual. Yeah, but not like this. Special meeting's fine with me. I said it last time.
Yeah, me too.
Better not. Oh, we're on this. Pete looks happy. I like when Pete looks happy.
All right, Scott's available and Vince are available and I'm available on August 31.
On the 31st?
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Is the building available? Mr. J-
Nobody,
There shouldn't be, right? Is it not, is it?
building's available?
I believe the building is available on the 31st.
All right. This only on the 31st, 7:30. All right? Do we have to put that in, make a motion on that?
Yep.
You want to make a motion? Somebody want to make a motion on that?
Make a motion.
All right.
To continue appeal number 21-1906 for special meeting of the zoning hearing board on August 31st at 7:30 PM.
Do we have a,
Second.
do we have a second? Any discussion? No? Those in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed? Guys have it. Great. Thanks, guys. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. You guys been gentlemen.
I know be public comment on August.
This probably, there'll be, we'll go through it all.
And then.
There's a open party status applicant last time.
We need a motion to cancel. We need a motion to cancel the September 7th meeting.
I'll make a motion to cancel September 2nd due to Rosh Hashanah. Did I say
Okay.
that right? September 7th? 7th, what'd I say?
It's
Said
September
seven.
7th, SEV 7th, 7th.
Due to Rosh Hashanah holiday.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
We do?
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those, aye. Anybody opposed? Nobody's opposed? That meeting suspended. And now we got to adjourn. Yeah, make a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn. He's already packed up.
Second, yes.
Second. Any discussion? No. All those in favor? Aye. Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.
Everybody come back.